For nearly 2 decades, Amy Fleming has been the unwavering heartbeat of Heartland, a force of nature whose strength and tenderness have mended both broken horses and shattered hearts. Through heartbreaks and triumphs, through quiet moments and dramatic upheavals, Amy has been our guiding star, the cornerstone of the ranch we've all come to call home. She's been the soul of Heartland, the pulse that has kept us going. But now, as the season finale approaches, everything we thought we knew is about to be turned on its head. In an unexpected, earth-shattering twist, Amy's future is suddenly hanging by a thread, leaving us all reeling shocked and emotionally raw. What happens when the heart of Heartland is in jeopardy? The stakes have never been higher. And as the dust settles, we're left with one haunting question. Is this the end of Amy's story? Her absence has the potential to unravel everything the Bartlett Fleming legacy, the future of the ranch, and the lives of those she loves most. How will Jack, Lou, Tim, and young Lindy cope with the void left behind? Will Heartland ever be the same without her steady presence? The foundation of the ranch and the very essence of the show are on the brink of collapse. This isn't just another season finale. It's a seismic moment in Heartland history, a turning point that will redefine everything. The most emotionally charged, heart-wrenching chapter we've ever seen is about to unfold, and it promises to leave you breathless, questioning what comes next. Prepare yourself for a ride that will break your heart and shatter your expectations. When the heart of Heartland is at risk, can the ranch and its people survive the twist you never saw coming? It's here. Are you ready for the moment that changes everything? Because nothing will ever be the same again. The season began with an unexpected breath of hope, a rare, much-needed moment of calm after years of loss, heartache, and silent resilience. For the first time in what felt like forever, Amy Fleming appeared to be regaining her footing. She had just achieved a groundbreaking success in her equine therapy work, helping a series of troubled horses that no one else could reach, a powerful reminder that her gift was not only intact, but evolving in ways she hadn't expected. Meanwhile, the family still carrying the raw memory of Ty, like an indelible scar etched deep in their hearts, seemed stronger, more unified than ever. Lou was flourishing in her career, rediscovering the roots that had always anchored her. Jack continued to be the quiet pillar of strength for everyone. Even young Lindy, with her mother's spark of intuition, was growing into her own. For the first time in years, Heartland felt alive again, its pulse steady and true. But as the season progressed, that fleeting sense of security began to unravel. Subtle at first, like a delicate thread loosening without notice, until it was too late to stop the unraveling. It started with small, seemingly insignificant things: a broken fence no one remembered damaging, misplaced tools found in odd places. The horses, Amy's most trusted companions, began acting skittish, restless, as if they sensed something unseen. There was a strange shift in the air, a tension that settled over the ranch like a thick fog. Conversations grew strained. The laughter that once filled the spaces between them became fleeting, hollow. And Amy, ever the calm, steady soul, felt it too, a gnawing unease, an unfamiliar weight rising within her chest. At first, it seemed like nothing, a passing phase, just the pressures of life and the weight of everything she had been through. But the feeling didn't go away. It grew. Her horses, the creatures she had always connected with on a deep, instinctual level, started to pull away, acting out of character, spooked by nothing, unwilling to engage. Her methods, once so reliable, now seemed to fail her at every turn. Where there had once been harmony, now there was only dissonance. Something was wrong, and Amy couldn't figure out what. Even the people closest to her felt different. Lou became distant, preoccupied with something she wouldn't share. Peter, though physically present, seemed emotionally withdrawn, his silence thick and impenetrable. Georgie, always quick to pick up on tension, began to bury herself in training, avoiding eye contact, retreating inward. Even Jack, the unwavering foundation of Heartland, seemed to have changed. Quieter, more contemplative, his gaze often lingering on the distant horizon as though he were waiting for something or someone. Amy tried to remain strong, to convince herself that it was just a rough patch. But deep down, she knew this was something different. This wasn't just the aftermath of grief or the weight of exhaustion. There was a heaviness in the air, something unspoken, something ominous that couldn't be ignored. The nights grew longer. The dreams that had once been filled with memories of Ty's warmth and comfort began to shift into something darker, disturbing, fragmented visions of places she didn't recognize and whispers she couldn't understand. Then, in the dead of night, everything changed. A phone call, urgent and unsettling, shattered the fragile peace. The voice on the other end was tight with fear, laced with something Amy couldn't quite place. "You need to come to the ranch. Now, something's wrong. It's about Ty." Amy didn't hesitate. Heart pounding with dread, she threw on a jacket, jumped into her truck, and sped through the fog, her headlights cutting through the night. The questions raced through her mind. What could this mean? Ty was gone. Was someone desecrating his memory? Or was there something far more chilling waiting for her? When she arrived, the ranch didn't feel like home. It felt hollow. The wind howled through the trees. The horses stomped nervously in their stalls, restless and unsettled. The barn door creaked in the wind, hanging open as if beckoning her inside. She stepped into the silence, a silence that was deafening, oppressive until she found the note, pinned to the wall. In sharp, deliberate strokes, 5 words were written that would haunt her for the rest of her life. The past can't stay buried. It wasn't just a message. It was a warning. A summons. A shift in the story that Amy couldn't yet comprehend. She stood frozen, the paper trembling in her hand, the cold seeping into her bones. All the things she had worked so hard to rebuild, the family, the ranch, her own fragile peace, were they all about to come undone? Was this a lingering ghost of Ty's death, or was it something older? Something more sinister? Was someone trying to reach her, or was this a torment designed to break her? One thing was certain, the life Amy had fought so desperately to rebuild was about to be torn apart in ways she could never have anticipated. As the storm clouds began to gather on the horizon, one truth became undeniable. Something was coming. Something dark. Something powerful. Something deeply connected to a past Amy thought she had left behind. And it was only just beginning. Could this sudden shift in energy signal the unraveling of everything Amy holds dear? The pieces of the puzzle were scattered, and some were about to become deadly. The calm before the storm was quickly fading, and the show fans had loved for years was on the brink of a transformation no one could have predicted. Was Amy Fleming's fate sealed from the moment she stepped into the barn that night? Or was this just the beginning of a much more dangerous game, one that would end with the death of a beloved character, leaving fans reeling and questioning everything they thought they knew? Amy's journey was heading toward a devastating climax, but no one could guess just how close they were to the final tragic moment. The time for answers was running out. The storm was coming, and it was coming for Amy Fleming. Would she survive? In the days following the chilling discovery in the barn, the atmosphere at Heartland grew increasingly heavy, oppressive like a storm gathering just beyond the horizon. Amy couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching her. Her nights became plagued with sleeplessness, her mind caught in an endless loop of questions with no answers. The note the past can't stay buried echoed louder with every passing hour, like a ghost whispering through the cracks of her peace. Who had sent it, and why now, after everything she had fought to rebuild? Still, Amy did what she had always done. She carried on. She threw herself into her work with the horses, masking the fear behind a determined calm. She tried to laugh with Lo, to be present for Lindy, to share coffee and silence with Jack. But the unease didn't fade. It deepened. It spread. It wasn't just a thought at the edge of her mind anymore. It was a weight, cold, invisible, and constant. Every creaking floorboard, every gust of wind through the trees felt loaded with meaning. The ranch, the place that had always brought her peace, felt foreign now, like something sacred had been disturbed. Like the land itself was warning her. Then it happened again. One quiet morning, as the first light of dawn bathed the sky in soft silver, Amy's phone rang. The screen was blank, no name, no number. A chill ran down her spine. With trembling fingers, she answered. There was a moment of unsettling silence before the voice came distorted, hollow, almost inhuman. It slid through the line like a ghost. Amy Fleming, it rasped. You think you've left the past behind, but it's found you. The things you buried, they're not dead. And this time, there's no escaping what's coming. The line went dead. Silence. No explanation. No trace. Amy stood frozen, the phone still pressed to her ear, her blood turning to ice. The voice was like nothing she had ever heard before, but the warning felt terrifyingly real. What did they mean? What's coming? Who were they? And how did they know her so intimately? She told no one. She buried the fear deep inside, put on a brave face, and tried to carry on. But the unease followed her into the stables, into the kitchen, into her dreams. The horses, usually attuned to her every move, became jittery, unsettled. Trust, once effortless, now had to be earned step by step. Lou watched her more closely, her protective instincts kicking in. Jack, ever the stoic pillar, said little, but Amy could see the concern etched into his weathered face. He had seen her broken before, but this was different. This wasn't grief. This was something darker. Something deeper. Fear. And it was growing. Desperate for clarity, Amy found herself drawn to the river, the same quiet place where she had once sought solace after Ty's death. But this time, the water's gentle flow sounded more like a warning than a comfort. The air was thick, oppressive, as though the earth itself was holding its breath. The trees whispered things Amy couldn't understand. And then something shifted. Across the riverbank, a figure emerged from the shadows. At first, Amy thought it was a trick of the light, a deer, a figment of her imagination worn thin by stress. But no. The figure was too tall. Too human. It stood unnervingly still, as if waiting. Her heart pounding, every nerve on edge, Amy squinted to make out the figure. Then the figure stepped forward. Amy's breath caught in her throat. It was Caleb Ty's old friend. A part of their shared history, long absent. Too long. Ooh. His sudden appearance was both shocking and deeply unsettling. He looked different, older, harder. There was pain in his eyes, but something else too. Something unsaid. Amy, he said, his voice low, rough, and heavy with unspoken things. Amy took a step forward, confusion clouding her face. Caleb, what are you doing here? I haven't seen you in years. What's going on? He hesitated, visibly torn, before speaking his words thick with regret. There's something I should have told you. Something I should have said a long time ago. But I didn't. I thought I was protecting you. Amy's pulse quickened. Protecting me from what? He drew in a shaky breath, his jaw tightening. They're coming, Amy. And they're not just coming. For you, they're coming. For the ranch. For everything. Amy took a step back, heart racing. Who? Who's coming? Caleb's silence was deafening. What had he kept from her? And why, after all these years, was it surfacing now? The wind picked up around them, swirling the air, the river rushing on like an ominous force. And in that moment, Amy realized something terrifying. This wasn't just about the past. This was the beginning of a reckoning. Before Caleb could answer, the screech of tires on the gravel road shattered the quiet like a gunshot in the night. Amy spun instinctively, her heart leaping into her throat. Headlights flickered through the trees, casting long, twisting shadows across the riverbank. But when she turned back to Caleb, he was gone. Gone without a sound. No footprints. No farewell. Just the empty space where he had stood, as though the darkness had swallowed him whole. Amy stood frozen, her breath coming in shallow bursts, her mind reeling. Had he really been there? Or had grief, exhaustion, and fear finally pushed her too far? But no, his voice, the warning in his eyes, it had been real. Whatever Caleb had meant to say, it was clear something dangerous was closing in. Something or someone was coming for her. For Heartland. The storm that had once been a whisper in the air was now a roar, thundering toward them, no longer content to hide in the shadows. The next morning, with the weight of the encounter pressing heavily on her chest, Amy gathered Lou and Jack. She recounted everything: Caleb's sudden appearance, the cryptic phone call, the ominous note in the barn. Every word spilled from her lips, laced with urgency and dread. Lou stiffened, her eyes sharp with worry. "This isn't random, Amy. Whoever this is, they know you. They know the ranch. And they're playing mind games. We need to take this seriously, now." Jack leaned forward, his hands clasped tightly together, his voice low. The calm, reassuring steadiness he usually carried was gone, replaced by something darker. "We've faced a lot together," he said. "But this feels different. This isn't just bad luck or coincidence. This is deliberate. We need to figure out who's behind it, and fast." Amy nodded, the fear coiling inside her like a storm ready to break open. There was no time left for doubt. Something dangerous was closing in, threatening everything she loved: her family, her home, and her daughter's future. And the worst part? It felt personal. That afternoon, Amy began digging through old records, old photos, memories she had buried chasing the faint echoes of a past she'd never fully understood. What she uncovered shook her to the core. This wasn't just about her. It was about her mother. Marian Fleming's past, long buried under decades of silence and half-told stories, was beginning to unravel. And at the center of it all was a name Amy hadn't heard in years: Oliver Rhodes. Once a trusted friend of Marian's, Rhodes had disappeared under a cloud of suspicion after a series of questionable dealings. But what Amy didn't know, what Marian had never spoken about, was just how deep his ties ran. Marian had trusted him once, perhaps even cared for him. And in doing so, she had unknowingly opened a door that could never be fully closed. Now, years later, Rhodes had returned. And this time, he wasn't just circling the edges. He was here with a plan, with revenge, and with a darkness Amy could feel pressing in from every direction. The cryptic warnings, the phone calls, Caleb's reappearance. They were all signs, breadcrumbs leading to something far more sinister. What did Rhodes want? Was it about reclaiming something he believed was stolen? Or was it about punishing the Fleming family for sins long past? The more Amy uncovered, the clearer it became. Marian's choices made in desperation, maybe even love, had set events in motion that were still playing out decades later. And now, Amy was the one left to pick up the pieces of a broken history she never asked for. But was she the target, or was Heartland itself? The sanctuary they had built, was that what Rhodes was truly after? One thing was certain: the battle ahead wouldn't just test Amy's strength as a mother or a trainer. It would test her courage as the heir to Marian's legacy. A legacy shadowed by secrets and haunted by one man who had waited far too long to be forgotten. The storm wasn't coming anymore. It had arrived. The truth grew darker still when Amy uncovered something that sent a chill through her bones: a paper trail hidden in decades-old land dispute files that exposed a deeply rooted conspiracy. Oliver Rhodes hadn't just resurfaced with a personal grudge. He had been laying the groundwork for years: bribes, manipulated surveys, coerced signatures, and threats masked behind friendly handshakes. All roads led back to him. Heartland was never just a ranch. It was a crown jewel in a bitter, silent war over legacy, land, and power. And Amy was no longer just Marian's daughter. She was the key to ending what had started long before she was born. Then came the moment that turned foreboding into fear. On a quiet afternoon, with the wind eerily still, a solitary figure approached the ranch gates. He didn't speak. He didn't wave. He simply stood there, watching. It was Albert Rhodes, Oliver's estranged brother. A man whose name had lingered in old conversations and faded letters, always in tones of caution. He had stayed out of the public drama. Until now. Amy locked eyes with him across the fence, and in that moment, an unshakable dread settled deep in her bones. His presence wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't an act of reconciliation. It was a warning.